In this lesson, we're going to see some other basic settings in Dreamweaver. So we are starting, we're going to take things nice and slow, and we're going to increase the level of difficulty lesson by lesson. So in the previous video, we saw how we can start and customize a little bit the interface, start with a simple template here that we call lesson 01. So we mainly focus on the interface, how everything works in terms of panels, menus, and the workspace here in the middle. So in this video, we're going to start again with some basic stuff. I'm gonna close this and we're gonna get back here to the home page. So now the home page is a little bit different from the one we began with. Now we have some recent files right here. So the more files we're gonna create, the more we're gonna see them right here. And we're gonna configure a site, which is basically how to group everything into a single folder in order not to lose anything. We're not going to do it right now. We're going to go more into basics and we're going to come back for this topic later. Now, what I want to show you here is that before you actually get into the creation of documents, new pages, you can go here in the edit, which is the second menu here from the top. So we discover a little bit about this first menu and the view menu and the window menu in the previous lesson. So now let's go here in edit. Now most of these can be used while we're working on a document. So undo, redo, which are like the more famous to go back and forward in your action. Control X to cut, and then you have copy and paste, Control C, Control V. These are all like pretty common. If you don't know those, you're probably a real beginner. So these are something that you basically do in any software. But I've worked with the people, I teach people that also don't know even to do this. So I'm not gonna give everything, anything for granted. Now down here, we have some editing of various HTML elements. And again, let's go more down. So we can edit text, we can edit paragraphs and headings. And down here, this is where I want to go, or Control plus U, these are the preferences. So before we start by talking about the settings and the preferences of the pages we're working on the documents, these are the preferences of the overall system. So everything you can change about Dreamweaver is in here, except for the language that we saw. You need to change it into the Creative Cloud account preferences. But if we go here in general and we go all the way down, we can see that down here we have English United States. Now this is the spelling dictionary. Now if you want to be sure that you're writing things correctly and you want to do it in your own language, you can also change the language right here. But I'm gonna keep English for this course. And then you have like a lot of other settings that, well, some of these are pretty easy to understand, some others are pretty complex. So I'm just gonna go through here and see what we can do initially, what we can change initially, and then perhaps we're gonna come back later. But just know that here you find the preferences for the whole software. So for example, here, document options, you can show the start screen, you can reopen documents on the startup if you left them open. So you can see these are really basic things that you can set. And some of these are like more complex, like use strong and EM in place of B and I. So these are like more about the code, the HTML code, and these are the tags. But we're gonna talk about this later, so you probably don't have a clue of this if you never use HTML and web design. So don't worry, we're gonna come back into these things. Now let's see some other stuff, and I'm gonna go just jump into the things that I think are more important at the beginning. So close tags, you can set up the code ins. This will help you when you're typing the code, and usually everything here is set up correctly, but you can change it. You will see later when you will start to type some code, write some code. Code rewriting, again, this is about tags and stuff like that. Let's move on. CSS styles. Now the CSS styles are basically a set of rules that will help you to stylize your web page. So you can choose here, for example, if you want to create a specific font, if you want to use a specific font, if you want to create a specific layout with specific colors, etc., etc. So they have, something about CSS, but to know this again better, we need to go forward in some lesson. Export, import, you can see here if you want to export the keyboard shortcuts or the workspaces or whatever you do here, you may want to export it, and you can choose what to export and what not to export. Let me just move on here. File types, editors. If you want, you can assign, if you want to modify like images or for example Photoshop files, you can add a software here. So when you say, okay, I want to edit this graphic, you can choose a software to use like GIMP for graphic design, for example, or for all of these movies you can use After Effects, or you can see here VLC Media Player, etc., etc. So some of these can be set, some of others you need to set up yourself. And you can make primary, so you can choose more than one editor and select one as primary. So for example here you see if I have only one, this is going to be my primary editor, and this is to edit the content. You cannot edit the content in Dreamweaver, you can just edit the structure of the page, the style of the page, and things like that, but you cannot like do editing of videos, for example. You cannot like cut and paste the pieces of video clips, etc., etc. And please choose the file types to associate with Dreamweaver. Well, definitely Cascade Style Sheet or JavaScript. So you can also use other software for this if you want to write codes. You can even use like a normal writer, like the Windows document writer or Office, whatever. But for this, you're probably gonna use Dreamweaver for all. But this is just to get you going. Again, you can come back here anytime. And fonts. So this is the fonts that will be used as standard, and it's using now Unicode, but you can change in something else. And like, I don't know, Japanese, if you're Japanese, you want to use Japanese. Now, proportional font, this will be like the standard. So this is going to be for the proportional font, this is going to be the fixed font and the code view. But again, you can come back here. Git, now this is a little bit more complex. This is for collaborating with other people. So especially if you are a programmer and you want to work on the same app or the same web site or web app, you can probably use Git. Highlighting, so this is where you define the colors for things that work in the interface. And also if you want to manual update or auto update the software. Interface, this is where you can change the color. So I'm gonna go with a dark color, not too dark, but pretty dark, because it's like more relaxing for me, for the eyes. And you can also apply more, and you can also like let's do some based on this. Let's call this JB. Create. There you go. Now we can modify it, and I think it's pretty complex here, but it's basically a set of codes and language that you need to customize. These are the colors, and the way that Dreamweaver is going to show you the color is in this orange. So you know that when you find this hexadecimal code of 6 digits, this is for the colors that you can change. And also CSS and HTML, they will be displayed similarly with similar colors. And again, let's go back here to preferences. So we were here, interface, invisible elements. There are something that will be displayed in your web page, or that can be hidden, like for example the hand course and other stuff. But we will figure out this later. And linting, new document, default document will be HTML, yes, and also will be HTML5, which is currently the latest version, so you probably don't want to go back here. But you can also change if you're doing like these others. And that's it. New feature guides. If you want the features guides, you can use them. PHP version. PHP is another programming language, so you can maybe use a more recent, but we're not gonna do PHP in this. We're just gonna do web design. We're just gonna see some examples of PHP. And real-time preview. This is when you run a preview of your website. If you want to establish like a primary browser, and you can open the quickly by using the shortcut key F12, and also like a secondary browser, and that's going to be Control F12. So this is an action that I do pretty often. So I usually add here primary and secondary to be quicker with my previews. So definitely yes. And site, this is about the website. And at a certain point, we will connect our remote site, which is going to be on a server, and it's going to be the one that you're going to publish on the web, with our local site, which is the one on your computer, and transferring files from local to remote. That's called FTP, which is File Transfer Protocol. And so these are settings for that. And W3C validator. Now, W3C, we're gonna talk more about this later, but is essentially the organization that is behind the web. And so you can validate your code that you're writing, so your web pages and your website, using the validator online or using directly Dreamweaver. And these are the main window size. You can see there are some presets like iPad, iPhone, Google Pixel, so smartphones, tablets. You can also add more, so I can type here whatever. Okay. Sorry, I need to type here the name, so I'm gonna do this whatever. And here I can say, okay, I have a device that is like 2K width and 1K height, so this is gonna be another way I can test my website. So you can apply the preferences once you're ready, and you're ready to go now to use Dreamweaver. So instead of using these recent works, I'm gonna go from the home page. I'm gonna do quick start. Now, when you do quick start, you can see there are many options. So probably you want to go the most of the time with HTML document. This is where it all starts, and then you start to connect other documents to the main HTML document. And we're gonna see also Bootstrap for responsive websites. And here you can also set up the site, but again, we're gonna do this later. Just gonna go a quick start and use an HTML document from here. And you can see this is a blank document, so it's different from a template that we used in the previous video. So here you don't see anything. The page is completely white. On the right side here, you see the code, which is really simple. There is nothing, basically it's a bare bone HTML structure, empty structure. Now, if we want to go back to the original default split view, which is horizontal, I'm going to use horizontal, but you can always change it to your liking. So I'm going to use the default, which is this one here. Now, if I go down here in the various settings, you see I also have mine. So 2000 by 1000 is my whatever. And these are the others that we already saw. So if you do full size, it's gonna fill the space here with the page. And then here you have a preview. So now you can see we have Brave browser is going to be my first choice, F12. Control F12 is going to be the secondary browser, second choice, or Google Chrome. So you can go here. If you click Edit List, you're going to go back to the preference panel. So many times you will see that, and that's going to bring you back to the preference panel. And this is going to tell you if there are errors in your HTML page. So for example, if I start to type things, strange things in here, well, this is just a text. So if I type this anywhere, Well, it's not a problem. If you type like this, it's not going to give you a problem, but it's not good. So try not to make things here too confused or not organized. But let's say that I just remove a tag. These little arrows here, they represent a tag. So if I remove one, you can see now it's giving me an error. So usually the lines of code that are problematic or they are giving issues will be displayed with the red. Really useful to check quickly if there is something wrong, and it's going to tell you also down there. So that's kind of quick check mark that you can keep an eye on. Now I'm going to close this and I want to go back to this starter template. So instead of using quick start, we're going to use that later when we are a little bit more expert. Well, not expert, but when we familiarize a little bit more with the software. So here in starter templates, you can see we have some basic HTML, but then we have also Bootstrap, which is kind of more advanced, and we will see it's kind of a package that will help you to design quicker and easier. And then we have email templates, responsive email templates, etc., etc. Now I want to go here with the first one. Now we saw the basic single page in the previous video. Just want to go here with the basic multi-column, doesn't matter. I'm just going to open one. There you go. So you can see things are a little bit different here. We have responsive. This up here are the media queries representation. And I can, if I double click, I can go directly to a determined size. And it's going to show me the various version in the various resolution. And if I click this and drag it all the way to the right, I'm going to fill the space. So this is kind of the desktop version of the website. Now here you can see that I can move inside the page directly in the live preview. I can change this to the sign, which is pretty similar right now, but I can see clearly the structure when I use design and the various CSS div that have been used. But don't worry about this. We're gonna come back here later on. And I can see the code. So anything I do in the, let's say, preview page or the preview area is gonna have an effect on the code and all the way around. So I'm gonna go here. You can see we are starting from the basics, but this is the main point. I don't want to rush because I know there are a lot of people that are not so experts. So for the expert, you can just jump ahead. This is for the people who don't really know what they are doing. So basically, if I change here, let's call this like works with the S, you can see it reflects a change here in the code. So anything I see here will be displayed also here in a form of HTML language, in a form of code. So this code, for example, represents the list. This tag right here, this code represents the unordered list. And this is also used many times to create menus, navigation menus for the website. I'm going to call this save as. I'm going to call this lesson 2. And a good practice is to create a folder, because usually a website comes with other documents, not just the web pages. So you probably want to create a new folder here, and I'm going to call this lesson 02. And I'm going to save the lesson 02 HTML inside this folder. So save. Okay, you can see what happened. Now it just lost the CSS and this other one, these two CSS. Now CSS, they are used to give a style to your website. So colors, but also structure. So you can see how the menu looks right now without the actual CSS, instructing to give a precise structure and a position for these elements. So everything is just gone. I just see the main HTML. Main HTML looks like bare text. And you can see we don't even have images right here because images are not embedded. Well, yeah, they are embedded in the page, but they are not like saved into the page. They are linked. Everything is linked and comes from the outside when we do an HTML page. So this is what we have when we have HTML page, nothing but textual content, if you will, and all the other stuff is linked. So when you change the position of the file, when you change the name, when you don't bring everything with you, like the whole folder, well, that's going to give you an issue like this that is not going to find anything but the bare bone HTML um, text. Now, I just want to point out a term that it's interesting, and you may want to take a note of this. So this is something I cannot spell right, I think. It's called Wysiwyg or Wysiwyg, whatever. And it's basically a term that explains the way that Dreamweaver and other similar software work, which is basically what you see is what you can get, meaning that what you are seeing right here is what you actually will get when you publish your website. So if you see this is not good, this is actually what we're gonna get if we save this project like this. So in time, you will learn to keep everything together in a folder, in a local folder, which is going to be your local site, and then in a remote folder, which is going to be your remote site. But right now, let's just see these really basic things. So what you see is what you get. It's a software that will help you a lot because you're not just going to see the code, because there are like some designers or some programmers that they only see code and they can see through that code and they can imagine like the website how it's going to be. Well, Reviewer is helping people that are not so, expert or not so genius, and they're going to have a problem figuring out how the website is going to look. So this is what you're going to get, what you're going to get from your website. So Dreamweaver is going to help you, and also other similar software, but Dreamweaver is pretty helpful in this way. It's pretty advanced and easy to use in my opinion. And it's also helping you in the code because everything here doesn't look like with a single color, but everything is kind of underlined, kind of pretty visible and distinguishable because it has so many colors. So the blue colors represent the tags, and the white color represent the content, textual content. As we saw, the orange could represent the color, but also a specific property here, like the width, the height. The green represent that particular setting for that part of the interface, etc., etc. So Dreamweaver will help you many different ways. Visualizing your final output here in the preview, especially if you do live and not the sign. And there you go. Now it kind of readjusted and it found the CSS somehow, maybe because it just refreshed. And then also it will help you with the code with a lot of colors. So start with these templates to familiarize and do some first experiments. Try, for example, here to select something. This is an image. You can see you cannot change the color of the image because you need to go to the original image and you need to edit this with Photoshop, with Canva, with Pixar, with any graphic design software. You cannot edit the color right here, but you can change the color of this text. For example, you can make it, you see here, you have the first settings here. You can create a link. So you can type like www.youtube.com, or you can make it bold. You have some basic operations right here. You can change the type of, you can see now it changed. And if you click Control and click, it's gonna open up that link, which is not local. It's looking for something local, but well, that's not local, that's a website. So if you have a problem like this, let me go out the live here. So in the design, you cannot do this. You cannot open up the link. Well, it opened up the properties, which is another interesting panel that we're gonna see later. And so let me just change here in the link. Let me go back to the live view. So you can see live view as some extra helpers here that can help you change stuff. So I'm going to change this and do like HTTP, which is hypertext transfer protocol, and you can see this is the correct syntax, and then you have www, which is the web, and then the correct address. So you need to make sure that everything is correctly typed good, that the syntax is good, and there you go. Now you can see it's bringing me to YouTube directly in here in Dreamweaver. So you can go back, you can just go here in the design. Design is more uh, like dedicated to the divs, which are these like containers. But don't worry about this, we're gonna talk more about that later. So just, you know, play around with some text, try to change stuff around, try to, you know, change color, and things you cannot manage to do, don't worry, because we're gonna see them later together. So just play around, familiarize with this double visualization and the design, the live view. In the live view, we can also see the media queries, so familiarize also with this top bar and how to rearrange. And we're gonna stop here for this lesson. I think it's good enough. So if you enjoyed and you wanna know more, subscribe and stay updated. If you wanna support us, if you wanna thank us so that we can create more videos like this, join the channel as a supporter. This will help us a lot. And also, if you're interested in other video courses like graphic design, 3D design, wherever you will find everything in the channel. You can also use the search bar to search what you're looking for. We have thousands of videos. So thanks again for watching, and see you in the next.